Most people are trying to change their life by changing their behavior. They try harder, they push more, they try to get motivated. But neuroscience shows us that results are created much earlier than your behavior. Your emotions, your actions, your outcomes, they're not random, they're actually very predictable. And once you understand why, change will stop feeling so hard for you. Before we go any further, I want to anchor this in scripture. Proverbs 23:7 says, "As a man thinks, so is he." This is not poetic. It's not symbolic. It's literal. You don't just have thoughts, you are shaped by them. And what I mean by that is what you think, you will become. As you think, you will be. And what's fascinating is that modern neuroscience now confirms what scripture has always told us. Research now shows that 90 to 95% of your thinking is unconscious. Studies show that 80 to 90% of your thoughts are the same thoughts that you had yesterday, which means most of us are not choosing our thoughts. We are repeating them over and over and over again. So when you look at your life, your reactions, your patterns, your habit, what you're really seeing is the result of your practiced thinking. You need to remember that your thoughts create your internal world, what's inside, and what's inside of you will shape your life. The way that you think creates the way that you feel, and the way that you feel drives how you act, how you show up in this world. And the way that you act is what compounds how you show up to your life every single day. It creates the results that you have. So when scripture talks about renewing your mind, it's not about positive thinking. It's about becoming aware of the thoughts that you have been rehearsing and then deciding on purpose which ones you want to keep on practicing. When I was introduced to thought work, it was through the Life Coach School podcast by Brooke Castillo. That is the school that I got certified as a coach. And I learned this framework that is backed by neuroscience by my coach, Brooke Castillo. It's called The Model, and it's very simple, and you can actually start using it today. And I'm going to teach you how to use it. So those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can see the visual CTFAR. But if you're just listening on an audio platform, I want you to imagine these letters CTFAR stacked on top of one another. What they stand for. C stands for circumstances. Circumstances are neutral. This includes things that happened to you in the past, things that were said to you, things that happened to you that are factual and not subjective. These would be things that are proven in a court of law. So you never say something along the lines of, "My mother-in-law is terrible. She is rude and mean," right? In the circumstance line, it would say mother-in-law. And if there was something that she said specifically, you would write the words that she said in there. Okay. Now the T stands for thought. And a thought is a sentence that you have in your mind. And so what we are using the T line for is the thought that you have about the circumstance. So if I were to ask you, what is the problem? What are you struggling with? What is the situation? You would put the problem that you think is the problem in the circumstance line, except for it would be very neutral, very factual. Remember, there's no subjective wording in there. The thought is what you think about when you think about that circumstance in the C line. Now, below the T is the F line. F stands for the feeling that you have when you think about the thought. So when you think that sentence, what emotion does it create for you? Now in the F line, F stands for feeling. This is a one-word emotion that you will have when you think the thought above it. So we have the circumstance, now your thought about that circumstance, and then what is the feeling that that thought creates for you? It will be a one-word emotion. Now below the F line is the A. A stands for action. And what this is about is what actions do you take or not take, or what is your behavior that you engage in when you are feeling that emotion above, okay? So whatever that feeling was above in the F line, it will create actions for you. What are you doing? What are you not doing? And what is your behavior? And then below the A line is the R. R stands for result, because all of the actions that you took in the A line will create a result for you. Okay, so the easiest way for me to explain how this model works is to give you a real life example. So in the circumstance line, we're going to put goal of losing 50 pounds, and I'm also going to put in there, you ate off plan. Okay, I don't know what plan we're talking about. If we're doing the 4 Good method, the method that I teach my clients to write down all of their food for throughout the day that they're going to plan to eat and then eat only that within hunger satisfied. So this is a very common example that I use with my clients. So let's say that you ate off of plan. Now, what is your thought about that circumstance that you ate off plan? What is your thought? Let's say your thought is, I suck. I did it again. Okay. The feeling that that would create for one of my clients is probably disappointment. Maybe it's failure, but it doesn't even matter. You're going to pick one. Let's stick with disappointment. So you're feeling disappointment. When you're feeling that emotion of disappointment, what are the actions that you take or that you don't take? Typically, what happens when clients are feeling disappointed because they ate off plan or they overate is they end up taking more overeating actions. I call this buffering from the very emotion of disappointment. Another action that they might take is to not follow their meal plan for the rest of the day. They might think things to themselves like, might as well, what's the point? I'll start again tomorrow. So that's the actions that they end up taking, usually when they're sitting in disappointment because they're thinking, I suck and I did it again. And the result is they actually delay getting themselves closer to their goal, which we have in this circumstance line. They had that goal of losing 50 pounds, and how they delay or they stall, right? How did they create the result? Well, they're overeating, right? They're reminding themselves of all of the times in the past that they didn't do that. That's what they're doing in the A line. They're rehearsing that old identity. I can't do anything right, probably can't reach this goal. So they're delaying the possibility of creating this result, or they're stalling in their progress towards that goal. And what I would say the result is they are reaffirming their old identity of, I can't stick to anything. Okay. Notice how their thought in this model creates this result. How do we know that it's their thought that created this result? Because when they had the thought that I suck, I can't do anything, and they were feeling disappointment, what did they do in that disappointment? It's whatever shows up in that action line. That is what creates the result for them. Now, let's see what would happen if this client had a different thought. We're going to have the same circumstance. They had that goal of losing 50 pounds. They still ate off plan. Imagine they had the thought, I can still make today a win, or I can still make today count. That thought might make them feel loving, kind, or compassionate. So let's stick with the feeling of compassionate. That thought might create compassionate, or maybe it's even calmness, but let's just stick with compassionate, right? We don't want to get caught up in what emotion it is that it creates for them, because remember, for you, that thought might create a different emotion. But let's just say that compassionate is the feeling that they felt because of the thought that they chose to think. Okay, so if they're thinking, I can still make today a win, they feel compassionate, guess what shows up in their action line? They might look at their meal plan, follow their plan for the rest of the day. They would remind themselves, okay, I can follow hunger satisfied for the next meal, no problem. They remind themselves of all of the wins that they've had thus far leading up to this point, and they think thoughts that serve them instead of defeat them. What they are not doing in that action line is they are not telling themselves that they might as well start again tomorrow, okay? So what do all of these actions create for this client? It ensures that they are taking actions towards their goal. And the leg that they've created is they are practicing the new identity of someone who keeps going even when they do make mistakes. So the problem that most people have is that they try to change the action line. A great example of this is January 1st. Everybody comes up with all of the list of actions that they're going to take this year. But as you can see, the real work happens higher in the chain. It's the thought. It's the belief. That is what is going to create your result in your life. So if you're looking at your life and you're wondering, why can't I just stick to a goal and complete it? It all boils down to what your model will reveal to you. What are the thoughts that you keep repeating over and over again? Like studies show us, 80 to 90% of the time, you're repeating those same thoughts that are going to be creating those same results for you that you have in your life. And I will tell you, for years, I struggled big time, creating the same results for me. And it was mostly with food and my weight issues. I thought that I lacked discipline. I thought I needed just the perfect plan to follow through on. And what I didn't realize was that I was using food to avoid my feelings. And the reason why I was feeling terrible all of the time was because my thinking was awful. My thoughts, that thought-feeling combo was just on repeat. It was no wonder why I couldn't create a new result in my life, because my thoughts, my mind management was so terrible. So what happened was I hired a coach, and she happens to be a dear friend of mine still to this day. And I hired her, and she came to my house, and I literally slid a binder across the table. And I told her, this is all of the food that I plan on eating. This is my protocol. And I just want you to meet with me week after week and keep me accountable to my goal of losing 35 pounds. And she did meet with me week after week, but she did not coach me on my weight loss goal. In fact, she coached me on every single thing but my weight loss goal. I thought I needed accountability, somebody to keep me on track with following my protocol. But what she was doing was going after the reason why I was eating food that wasn't on my plan. So I'd say to her, well, I didn't follow my plan for Monday and Tuesday. And she'd say, okay, why? And I'd say something usually like, oh, because Andrew was late again from work and I had supper ready, but I was hungry. So I just ended up eating the cupboard snacks. And then she'd ask a little further, okay, well, what goes on with you when Andrew doesn't come home on time? And that's when I would unload. I'd say things like, he has no respect for me, that I've been home all day with the kids. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm trying to make this perfect dinner for him. And here I am waiting for him. And he doesn't even have the decency to text or call to let me know that he's going to be 5 or 10 or 30 minutes late. I had a very convincing story as to why he was the source of my frustration. And what she helped me see gently, but very clearly, is that he was not the source of my emotion. My thoughts were creating my results. My thought was creating me to show up in my A line as passive aggressive, with me snacking, aka buffering, me blaming him, me giving all of my power away. And what she showed me was that if I wanted to be calm, if I wanted to be loving and kind, which is how I desperately wanted to show up every single day when he walked in the door, if I wanted those things, I could create that with still having him show up in the door late. How is that even possible? And even some of you are like, what? You have every right to be upset. Here's the thing. Do you want to give your power away to somebody else? Do you want somebody else to have that much responsibility over your emotions, over your emotional life? My guess is you don't, but you don't realize that your thoughts are creating your emotions for you. So this isn't about positive thinking and, oh, I don't mind if he's late and go ahead, walk all over me, no boundaries. It's nothing like that. This is about what can I control in the situation, my thoughts, my feelings, my actions, my results, and am I ready to step into that and own that I get to create my result for me? So what happened? I chose a different thought, and that different thought created an entirely different result. One thought led to resentment and overeating, and another thought led me to show up very lovingly and kind, and to have self-respect for my time too. You know what I wanted my thought to be? I'm so excited to see him, because that was very true. And here's the thing about thought work. You can't say things, positive thinking, if you don't actually believe it to be true, because it will not create the emotion that you want. So if I were to think, I don't mind if he's late, that would not create peace or contentment for me. But if I had the thought, I'm so excited to see him, that was very true for me. I was so excited to see him every day. And that excitement and that anticipation allowed me to show up in the way that I desired to show up when he walked through the door. Now, that didn't mean I never had a conversation with him. When you're in a relationship with somebody, you are allowed to make requests, but I was no longer willing to give my power away. So after I did my own thought work and I got my own self-regulated and in an emotional state where I could have a conversation with him, I made a simple request. I said, if you think you're going to be late, even 5 minutes, I'm requesting that you text me ahead of time. And I also gave myself permission to move on if he was going to be late, if he didn't walk through the door when he said he was going to. I wasn't going to stew. I wasn't going to punish him silently, and I wasn't going to make it anything about me. And this is so important, because if you are going to have a conversation with anybody who you're in a relationship, you want to make sure that you get your thinking right first. Because if you show up in a conversation and you're feeling resentful, overwhelmed, frustrated, angry, you're going to create a very different result for yourself versus if you showed up grounded, confident, loving, right? Even if you're using the same word, it's a totally different outcome because of how you show up in that A line, in your action line. So when my coach showed me the power of my own thoughts and how it was creating this result for me, it made me change how I approached my life. Every single time I noticed myself in negative emotion, I would immediately go to what is going on? What is the thought that is creating this emotion for me? Because I knew when I had urges for food that wasn't on my plan, it was because I'm resisting or I'm avoiding an emotion. I'm feeling something uncomfortable that I haven't learned the skill to feel yet. That's why I'm desiring food right now and I'm not even actually physically hungry. Food is not the problem for me, for you, for anybody. It is the emotions that you are trying to escape from that is causing you to desire that food in the moment. That's why they're called urges. It's a feeling. It's urgent. Your brain, that lower part of your brain, wants you to get out of discomfort so quickly. And because you have that automatic response that you just go to food without even paying attention to what is the thought feeling there that comes before it, you're going to just be spinning in this cycle of, I don't know why I'm creating this result of I'm overweight or I just can't follow my plan. Well, you can't follow your plan because you don't even know what emotion you're escaping from, friend. You don't know what thoughts you're thinking that's creating all of that negative emotion for you. So once you learn how to identify the thought, everything is going to change for you. So here's what I want you to hear. Your thoughts create your feeling. Your feelings drive your actions, and your actions create the results in your life that you're currently living with. You can pick any result right now that you have in your life that you don't like and ask yourself, what are the thoughts or the beliefs that I've been thinking on repeat that I think have created this result for me? And if you're feeling up for it, you can go do a model on that. Start with the result that you have in your life and work your way back up. What are the actions that have created this result? What has been my overall feeling that have drove these actions? What is my thought there that has created that emotion for me? This is cause and effect. And this is why lasting change never starts with action, because actions don't create lasting results on their own. Identity does. So if you want lasting results in your life, you have to become the person who naturally produces those results. Most people try to change their life the same way that you heat a room with a space heater. When things feel uncomfortable, they add motivation. They try harder. They push. They force. And it works for a moment, but the second motivation fades, the room gets cold again. That's behavior change without identity change. The model helps you adjust the thermostat instead. Your thinking is the thermostat. When your thoughts stay the same, your emotional temperature stays the same, which means your actions and results usually stay the same. They repeat themselves as well. So if you keep trying to change behavior without trying to change how you think first, you're just turning the space heater on and off. And that's why awareness of your thinking should be non-negotiable. You have 60,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are on repeat. So this work isn't about perfection. It's impossible to control 60,000 thoughts a day. This work is about intention and attention, learning to notice, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling right now? What thought is creating this feeling for me right now? And who am I being in this moment? And then choosing on purpose who you want to be. Let me give you a real example from my life right now. I've got 3 kids, 3 schedules, and one of the identities that I'm really trying to work on this year is I am calm and present and nothing is urgent. That is the result that I want. And this comes from me previously having a very rushed identity, always rushing kids, always rushing my husband. Everything has to go faster so we can get to places on time, so that we're not late. And I just decided I don't like this version of me. I do not like the way I am showing up. I do not like this result that I've created. And all of the actions that I've taken that have created this result are very evident. They're very clear. I didn't have to look very hard to figure out what is creating this for me. It's my thoughts. I don't have enough time. There's not enough time. We're going to be late. So instead of asking myself all the time, how do I get my kids to move faster? How do I get there faster? How do we get there on time? The new question I'm asking, who is the version of me who already has this result, who is calm and never rushed? And then I work backward. What does a calm, present version of myself think when my child is running late for school? Do I think, this is a disaster, you're making us late, why are you always late? Or do I think, we can handle this? This is not an emergency. That thought sets the thermostat for me. And in that calmness, I'm going to be taking actions that align with who I'm becoming as a very calm, present, non-urgent person in this world. Notice how I can't change the circumstance of being late for something all of the time, right? Because I can't always control my children. I can't control my husband. I can't control the traffic, some of these circumstances that would create the result of being late, but I can definitely create how I show up, which is my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions, and my own personal result that I want. I was able to show up in calmness even though we were late. This is why the model matters. This is why you should be practicing doing your own models or getting coached by a coach who's trained in the model so that they can help you change your life, like literally change your life. This is the model that I've used in all of my coaching programs, the accelerators, because I don't want my clients to become dependent on me to coach them. They have to learn the tools so that they can coach themselves on any problem that they have. And the model actually works to solve any problem that you have that you are creating for yourself. Okay. So if you want to create a new identity for yourself, if you want to have the result of you showing up in this world in a new way, it's very important that you start paying attention to how your thoughts have created your current result and how you can create the result that you want by thinking new, intentional, and believable thoughts. And the more that you practice the new thoughts that you want to choose to think intentionally, the more natural it will become. This is how your neural pathways are formed, and this is how your internal thermostat gets reset to the emotional temperature that you truly desire. It does take work, it does take intention, but it is 100% possible for you to change the results that you have in your life, to really create the life that you desire. And it all boils down to your thoughts. This might be one of those episodes that you're going to have to come back and listen to again. So I encourage you to like and save this for a future time when you can come back and remind yourself of this is what it's all about. Please leave me a comment. Let me know how you did with the model. If you have any questions about your model, your engagement helps this message reach more people. So I would love your support to get my message out there that you can live the for good life, and so can they. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time. Hey, it's Jaycee. Super quick. If this episode resonated with you and you want to take this further, I have 2 ways that you can work with me directly. Path number 1 is for the woman or man who wants to become a normal eater. You're going to work with me for 10 weeks, and by the end of those 10 weeks, you will be the normal eater that you've always desired to be. The second path is my 10-week For Good Life Accelerator. This is for you if you want to up-level every area of your life, build emotional capacity, strengthen follow through, and develop real self-trust so that you wake up every single day doing the thing that you know that you want to do so that you can build the life that you've always been meant to create. Both programs are going to help you tap into your potential so that you can live the for good life, the life without so much unnecessary suffering, and a life lived on purpose. And if you're not ready for weekly coaching or to accelerate your progress, I've attached 2 free trainings in the show notes. The first teaches my For Good method, the 2 steps to normal eating, and the second teaches you how to manage your mind in real time while you're feeling discomfort. And for ongoing teaching, emotional mastery, mind management, intentional living, and how to get out of your own way, join me here on YouTube weekly, hit subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode.